Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Joseph Andal. To his left, meaning the Prime Minister's left, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Dennis Cornwall. And to his left, the Minister of Economic Development and several other things, Honorable Lennox Andrews. And to get the conversation going, Prime Minister, if I can start with you, deliberately so, and you may have touched on some of it earlier, but I would just want us to lay the foundation by having you emphasize why Vision 75 is important for Grenadians, and making the distinction between Grenada and Grenadians, and the efforts that have been made to ensure that there's dialogue up and down the country, across political parties, so that this Vision 75 is fully embraced by all and will be a collective effort.
Thank you, award-winning host of. If there isn't buy-in for the vision will not materialize. So it's important that the vision is shared. It's important that we have feedback. It's important that persons criticize, take part, and that we then actualize the vision. And I think that's important throughout the length and breadth of wherever Grenadians are, and however we can reach them. So whether it's in a forum like this, or whether it's online, whether it's when we travel to many of the places where the diaspora live and work, it's important for us to emphasize this. And there's another part of the diaspora, which is the citizenship by investment diaspora, that also is critical. The whole point of the investment migration industry as well is not just the financial investment, but the ability to get persons who are successful, who will also want to help build the country that they've acquired citizenship in. And so it's important for that message to be said over and over, because repetition is important. That's the first point. And then I think the more fundamental point is, if there is no vision, if there is no goal, the same way you drift in your individual life is the same way a country will drift. And to some extent, I think Grenada has drifted, regrettably, in several areas, because there was no clear goal or vision articulated by our leadership. Now, you could disagree with the vision, you could disagree with the goal, and you can propose your alternatives. But where you have no vision at all, no goals, then you can't measure performance. And that is a critical issue. And therefore, it's all interconnected. We've highlighted 5 areas: energy, healthcare, education, who you are as a Grenadian. And they're all complex, but the bottom line is, if we are articulating those things, then the public can measure whether or not we are talking, whether we're actually taking steps to actualize the vision. And I hope that as part of this conversation, we can demonstrate that we are actually taking steps to actualize the vision that we're talking about. We may not always be doing it at the pace that we want to, but I think that's the critical piece, because then it gives belief to the population that the vision can be actualized.
Thank you. Minister Andal, in your opening presentation, you spoke of building bridges. And as Minister of Foreign Affairs, as we think of bridges, you mentioned the importance of the foundation. A number of the members of our audience, of course, would have traveled and can contribute in different ways, one of which would be opening doors and engagement. So if you can, to those who have traveled, say, how can they contribute from afar in laying the foundation to build that bridge on that side to Grenada to foster the development of Vision 75? So what can the members of the diaspora actually do to assist in government-to-government relations, social partnerships, etc., to foster that development in Grenada?
Good. So I will probably not answer the question that you asked. Yeah. I mean, we cannot overestimate the role of the diaspora. But I think government is elected to lead. and that we should take the initiative to establish the infrastructure that would facilitate the participation of the diaspora in the national development effort. I don't think that we should leave it for people to spontaneously get up and do things, all right? So, what have we done and what can we do? We have, as a small country, very limited means in terms of being able to deploy diplomatic personnel around the globe. So we have to make sure that with the little we have, we use it wisely and strategically. So we have developed a small network of embassies and consulates and a growing list of honorary consuls in different parts of the globe who are there to engage not in the traditional cocktail diplomacy, but in actively seeking partners and partnerships, all right? So what these people have to become and are becoming are also investment promoters, partnership seekers. Vision 75 is the blueprint, and each ambassador, each consul general, each honorary consul has to become familiar with the tenets of Vision 75 and the National Sustainable Development Plan, and to tease out elements of it that people in the diaspora can look at and see how best they can come on board in the national development effort.
Thank you very much for that. Am I also hearing a call for people who are members of the diaspora who might be at a location that there isn't an honorary consul to volunteer, to become that agitator and partner to foster Grenada's efforts?
Yeah, definitely. So although I said that government has to take the lead, that does not preclude other people using their initiatives and reaching out. Because a bridge, as we said before, is not just on one end, can't stand on one leg. So there is a role for people to take initiative and to come on board with their suggestions, with their plans, with their proposals, and so on.
Thank you very much. Minister Andrews, what, if you can lay out, and we had the original presentation, but just lay out the economic pillars upon which we envision Vision 75 can be operationalized. The investments are many. Some are social investments. And hence, what are the economic drivers that we see ourselves embracing in order to deliver on this bigger picture for Grenada?
All right, so thank you for this very difficult question. And to answer it, maybe I should start, first of all, in how we see the role of the diaspora in our country's economic development. Now, most of us, when we were in school, when we were in university, they taught us, the conventional wisdom was that one of the reasons why our countries are poor is because our trained people don't return to our countries. They remain outside for better living and so on. There is a view that while this is true to a certain extent, it is not totally correct. Because you don't have to be in Grenada to make a contribution, a meaningful contribution to Grenada. You could be anywhere in the world and you can make a contribution to Grenada. Apart from the remittances that we receive, you being abroad, occupying senior positions, perhaps in government, in the private sector, or even having your own business, brings a sense of pride to us who are here in Grenada. Because when we travel and we recognize that there's a Grenadian who occupies a high position, of course, we feel proud. And I will tell you this story. A friend of mine was sick, and he went to, I think it was the John Hopkins Hospital for attendance. and my friend is from Paradise. And he went to do some cancer operation. But at the hospital, he met this little black fellow. So he felt good. And in the conversation, the guy said to him that he's from Bylands. And that is the one to attend to him. So, he said, I feel so happy. I felt so proud to know that it is a man from Bylands, and I living in Paradise, who is going to attend to me. He said, all the sickness is gone. He get well one time. He felt so proud. So you out there really and truly constitute a source of pride for our people to live. All right? So apart from the remittances, that's one. But you also serve as a market for our goods and services. There is a view that we should upgrade our embassies abroad and to include some kind of economic attaché who can serve as a conduit to find markets for our domestic products. Of course, that would require that we develop our domestic economy so we can have enough for the export market. And as a small open economy, certainly we have to export. Good? We have to export. But simultaneously, you constitute a source of human resource, perhaps highly qualified and highly trained. Yeah? And we need that highly qualified and highly trained human resource back in Grenada at some point in time to help us to develop our economy as well. But there are some specific areas in Grenada right now that we think that you can play a major role in contributing to our country's income, employment, and output. Our view is that every small open economy must increase domestic production, not just for domestic consumption, but also for export. And we have identified a number of local productions, local area of production, where we think you can play a major role because you will have the technology, you will have the know-how, and also you will have the markets giving your knowledge outside there. So presently, for example, we have 2 large poultry farms that have closed. Good? And we're looking for investors to assist them. The government strategy is to increase the imports of poultry products by 40% by the year 2035, and we're still far from that. So that's one area where if you're interested, of course you can participate. Now, I want to say this. There is a view of Grenadians when it comes to the diaspora. The Grenadians see you as being better off, because that's why you went over there for. So we see you as being better off. And we see you as being more educated and more skillful and very knowledgeable. And that's how we see you. And therefore, we see you as having the knowledge, technology, the know-how, the skills to be able to contribute directly to our economy. Yeah? And what we have to do is to identify those areas where we think that you can contribute directly to assist in our economy. So there are a number of things, apart from the poultry I mentioned. There are many other areas that we could deal with. And they're very simple, they're not difficult. At the beginning of last year, the government imported 466 small ruminants, pig, goat, sheep. And the aim is for us to have self-sufficiency in meat production and also have enough for the export market. We are looking for not just locals, but we're also looking for you to get involved as well. What we will do is that we will give you a male pig, a male goat, a male sheep. We will help you build the proper pen and help you with your animal husbandry training and so on. Yeah? And that male sheep, that male goat, that male pig will be used to breed your females so that over a 3-year period, we have enough pig meat, pig goat, goat meat, sheep meat to feed ourselves. In fact, we call it spice breed of pig, goat, and sheep. Good? And that's one area where you could actually get involved almost immediately.
Minister, if I can, and this addresses our food safety and food security issue, which of course is important. Is there an opportunity for investment in large areas? Prime Minister spoke earlier of doing things to scale. We also spoke of our smart development in terms of use of land. So is there an opportunity for our citizens in the diaspora to acquire, let's say, government lands or lease government lands so that they can get into these productive sectors in a scale that would make sense for them, not just a backyard type of activity with 3 goats and a sheep?
No. The 3 goats and pig is not backyard. I mean, it's more than that. It's large scale, my brother. It's large scale. Big things. Yeah? No. Sorry if you get me wrong. All right? Government has presently we have about 6 estates. Good? 2 of them are actively involved in domestic production, mainly root crop production. So we have estates that are available, that we could make available to you, for you to get involved in any other area of economic activity that is useful for the country, not just for domestic production, but also for export. Because a small open economy, we have to export, and we have to earn foreign exchange to pay for the goods that we consume, but we don't produce. Good? So the assets is one, they are available. Good? And therefore, what we are doing, and maybe I should explain it this way, we are part of CARICOM, and we're also part of the OECS. We have the CARICOM food importation reduction strategy. So does the OECS has that. At the OECS level, we have a strategy aimed at increasing our domestic production. Good? And what we have done is that we have identified a number of agricultural produce that we import, but we think we can produce here locally. You call that input substitution. And input substitution was a strategy that was long used by our foreparents when they went to fight for independence for our countries. Yeah? So we have about 8 of them. One of them, of course, is Irish potato. Right? One of them is carrot. Good. Our view is that with increased production, we can in fact become self-sufficient in these productions by the year 2030. And therefore, if you have an interest in these areas, certainly we will make land available to you. Good. And of course, assist you with your inputs to increase agricultural production in those areas.
Thank you very much. Minister Andal, I know you want to make a comment on here.
Yes, just to add a little bit to what my colleague has said. Now, I want to speak specifically about agro-processing. For years, we have been getting the calls, we need factories to process our mangoes and so on. And yes, it's a good call. But let me give an example of a company that set up somewhere in St. David, probably, I think in Lassa just a few years ago, with agro-processing. And they ended up having to import pulp from the Dominican Republic. So we're talking now about a question of scale. Now, we have St. Vincent and the Grenadines nearby, St. Lucia, Dominica, relatively nearby. So I think we have to, when we're talking about scaling up, look beyond just Grenada. But if we can have hubs, production hubs, in the different islands, so that instead of Grenada doing a little thing which is barely more than artisanal, we can decide that Grenada will process mangoes. St. Lucia, St. Vincent will provide the raw material so that we can have the skill to keep a factory going. And this is one of the areas, as Minister mentioned, CARICOM and the OECS, that we need to move beyond talk now and to start operationalizing those things.
Okay. Minister Cornwall, I believe this afternoon, the OECS is having a conversation, the ECCB, Currency Union, having a conversation on the anniversary of pegging the EC dollar to the US dollar. What type of strategy, because Prime Minister spoke of the challenges that are faced with accessing finance, the transfer of finances. How can we buck the system to make it easier for our citizens in the diaspora to invest in Grenada and get the return on investment? Because we're not speaking of charitable donations here, but rather fostering an environment for viable business opportunities. How can we buck that system working with the ECCB and the constraints that currently exist?
Thank you for the question, and let me begin by saying that the Eastern Caribbean dollar is probably one of the strongest currency in our area. It's pegged at 2.7 EC dollars to $1 US, which makes us a very strong currency area. Now, from time to time, we do create bonds and treasury bills and so on that are marketed on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. I think whether you're in any part of the diaspora, whether in the United States, Canada, UK, and other parts of the world, you can invest on the stock market as it is right now. Sometime earlier in the year, we did a first retail bond in Grenada, trying to raise, I think, 5 million EC dollars. And again, that was not just to raise $5 million. It was basically to show our Grenadians, whether here in Grenada or abroad, to invest in such an venture so you can get more or less the practice of investing in Grenada. Because a lot of us have money sitting in our bank accounts, earning a maximum of 2% interest. And that, to me, if you are a astute person, you will try to make your investments or your money work for you. So last time we basically piloted this retail bond, we were trying to raise $5 million, and we were able to increase our participation on the stock market from individuals to 450 persons. That was a significant number because from 0 to 450, 2 more is good. So you can't do that if you basically participate in the treasury bill, the bonds, or from time to time we can basically issue a bond for a particular reason on Grenada, and you should look out for those kind of things and so on. I would also say that our banking system is filled with money. The problem the banks are having sometimes is that they don't have enough bankable products, meaning that most of our personnel, citizens and so on, are not coming to them with bankable loans and so on, and that is basically stymizing the public investment. So we need to look at that in another way. Yes, you can stay wherever in your world and invest in Grenada. I mean, the PM talks about available properties. Minister of Agriculture also talked about properties that you can basically invest in, and you don't have to be here. You set up a common company and you run it from anywhere in the world. The diaspora also can participate in other activities that we have here. Take, for example, we are talking about building affordable homes to serve the public. Now, the government alone do not have all the resources in the world to build homes for everybody. And so if you can participate by buying the lands, building the apartments, condominiums, and so on, you should be able to service that shortfall or gap that we have in the housing situation in Grenada. And there are many other areas and so on. Because once there's a market for it, and I think housing has a very good market, it's just that it has to be available and affordable from time to time.
Thank you very much, Minister Cornwall. Prime Minister, we spoke of the different pillars, the energy, health, and others. But if you are to make a special appeal to the citizens in the diaspora for support in education, I'm probably biased, and hence I will raise that one. What would be that appeal, and how can they partner with us in Grenada to ensure the elevation of an appropriate system that can assist with the advancement and delivery of Vision 75.
Thank you. I would pay particular emphasis to skills-based education. And if there are members of the diaspora who have the capacity or the connections with anyone who's interested in investing, and I'm using the word investing deliberately, in any type of training, school, academy, name it what you wish, to train Grenadians in very specific skills, I would certainly encourage and support them coming back to do so. So we can start from the marine sector, welding, electrical, plumbing, associated with anything to do with the marine industry, boat building, boat captain, deckhands, anything to do with the marine sector is to a large extent skills-based. We as a government are also intent on establishing a marine school as part of the key sectoral change that needs to happen in the education sector. Every and any type of skill to do with construction, we need it, like yesterday. So that includes HVAC and any and every type of skill to do with food production, agro-processing, vertical farming, modern farming techniques, food preservation, logistics and cold storage. I would encourage people to come here and invest. And I'm saying invest here because education isn't free. The taxpayers already pay for primary and secondary school education, which to a large extent forms the basis for the fundamentals of our education system. Where the deficits are is when you hit 18 years old, you're thrown out of school effectively. And our current education system is not giving you the skill set that you need to find a job in any of the areas that I've just talked about, where there is a high demand and an unmet demand for skills. So we could just take construction alone, and it's impossible. This hotel, if you go outside, I think they've cordoned off a significant area that they're seeking to do renovation, improvements, construction, and the proprietor's single comment is that they can't find skilled laborers. So it's a major challenge, but there are hundreds and thousands of young men and women in Grenada who are exiting school, and the education system has never introduced them to anything to do with construction. So AI can't build out there. They can tell you how to build, but somebody has to build it. So the reality is it's the skills-based education that I think we need, one that's competency-based, competency-driven. From a government level, we're beginning to, in the very embryonic stage, address this issue. And I think your next panelist will speak on those issues. But from the point of view of galvanizing momentum, certainly private investment in those areas, schools, academy, I'm sure that lots of young people will take up the opportunity to be trained on the assurance that they're going into industries where they certainly will have jobs and the ability to become entrepreneurs and creators themselves. So that would be my pitch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we're quickly out of time. We have split our presenters into two panels, so we have a second panel of project leads. But I will give the ministers an opportunity if you want to share a final word, a final appeal, that you can do so. And without my getting frowns, I will give you 37 seconds each.
So there are many other areas of economic activities that you can get involved in. We have created a new ministry, which is now called the Blue Economy and Marine Affairs. Our marine space is 77 times greater than our land space. And there is great potential for development to take place within our marine space. One such area is what is referred to as marine culture, which involves things like, sea moss farming, sea crayfish, and so on. That area is becoming a very vibrant area right now in Grenada. We are discussing, in fact, with an investor, the possibility of identifying a particular area in the sea for the development of our sea moss, because there's a great demand for that. We also, in the blue economy, our seabed, Grenada's seabed, is filled with some very important minerals that are very good pharmaceuticals, good for people's skin, it's very healthy. That's an area where, again, we need to continue and see more investments taking place there. The other issue I wanted to raise concerning education is that one area that we need to look at is the professional training of our people. We are moving into things like the blue economy, environment and so on. But the truth is that it's hard to find in Grenada qualified people in those areas. So it's hard to find a qualified economist. It's hard to find a qualified econometrician. It's hard to find a qualified marine biologist or hydraulic engineer. So we need to train our people in these areas. Now, in my thinking, TAMCC for me is the future of Grenada. Because in TAMCC, every year, Grenada graduates around up to 1,000 young, bright Grenadians. And all they need is an opportunity to go on to further their study, whether in skills or at the academic level. And my view is that as diaspora, some of you may well be faculty in some universities. So perhaps what you can do is to have a link with TAMCC and find a way in which you can take our children straight from TAMCC right into university so that they can become professionals.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much. I will give Minister Cornwall an opportunity to speak for the 7 seconds remaining.
Okay, if I may preface my statements by saying Grenada is open for business, and that includes all of us. Now, from the government standpoint, we have made it easier for you to come back home as returning nationals from wherever you are, to be able to come home and settle here in Grenada and help develop Grenada. It's your country. In addition to that, I know some of us are concerned, well, when I leave the US and I come to Grenada, while I leave the UK and come to Grenada, I'm concerned about the health situation. Project Polaris is going to be providing that answer for us in the next 2 or 3 years when we're able to complete the hospital and have all the ancillary activities around it and so on, so that you will not be worried about, if I fall sick, I have to fly out to Trinidad or to UK or to Canada to get that surgery done. And so I want you to stay on board and be part of this new happenings. I can assure you that we have already started generating the investment or the financing to make sure we can complete the project. I wouldn't tell you what we have done thus far, but we are well on our way to basically finance that hospital with very concessional financing. I wouldn't want to call it cheap financing because no money is cheap, but at the end of the day, we will be able to solve that problem for you. So come on, whether you want to come physically or do it virtually, Grenada is open for business.
So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is quite prepared to build the bridge between Grenada and the diaspora. We are going to make our engagement via structured mechanisms rather than in an ad hoc fashion. The diaspora is potentially our greatest untapped resource. All we need is to put the right structures and mechanisms in place to facilitate the engagement, to allow you to be able to share your expertise in the different fields that we spoke about earlier as we move Grenada forward.
Prime Minister, you always get the last word.
I think the last word is thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue the applause and say thank you to Prime Minister Mitchell, Minister Andal, Minister Cornwall, and Minister Lennox Andrews for sharing. I thank you all, and we look forward to our project leads who will be up next, speaking about how we are going to operationalize the visions that has been shared by our ministers of government. Ministers, thank you.
So as our ministers exit the stage, our project sponsors and leads will make their entrance. The award-winning Mr. Colin, now you have the pleasure of leading our next panel as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ambassador Andrea St. Bernard, Mr. Randall Dolland, Mr. Nazim Burke, and Miss Valerie Gordon.
Thank you very much, panelists. And ladies and gentlemen, we will deliberately start off with the most talked about pillar and driver for Vision 75. So we'll start off with Project Polaris. And Andrea, I believe you have a surprise presentation for us.
Thank you. I don't know how much of a surprise it is, but it certainly is a wonderful video that can help to set the context of what is Project Polaris. So if the IT team could help me out, let's play the video.
So we'll open up with the video on Project Polaris and then engage in the discussions. Valerie would speak of project skills. Mr. Nazim Burke will deal with energy and our hydrocarbon exploits. And Randall Dolland will focus on Project 500, which is the housing initiative, and of course, Project Polaris. So that's the conversations and investment opportunities that we will be discussing.
There are moments in a nation's journey when small steps are no longer enough, when moving forward requires bold action. Grenada has faced moments like these before. When our economy was largely dependent on agriculture, we established St. George's University, opening the country to a global knowledge economy. When our ability to connect to the world was limited, we built the Maurice Bishop International Airport, unlocking tourism, trade, and international access. And when there was no single space to bring the nation together at scale, we built the National Stadium. Each decision responded to a real constraint. Each one expanded what was possible. Each one moved Grenada forward. Today, we stand at another defining moment. Healthcare. The need for a system that is modern, accessible, and reliable. Care that people can depend on here at home. That step is now being taken through Project Polaris, a transformative national investment in the health and future of our people. Set across 84 acres between St. George and St. David, Project Polaris is a fully integrated medical city, bringing together care, learning, living, and well-being within one connected system, organized into 4 districts: healthcare, mixed use, housing, and community, and anchored by a central park with the new teaching hospital at its core. At its center stands a 250-bed climate-smart teaching hospital developed in collaboration with Mount Sinai. Designed to global standards, this facility brings advanced care closer to home, specialized services for women and children, modern oncology and cardiology care, advanced diagnostics and surgical capability. Every element is designed to support healing, comfort, and dignity. The medical city is designed to operate seamlessly, with integrated services, efficient movement, and resilient systems to ensure continuity of care. Beyond the hospital, a mixed-use district supports a growing ecosystem with housing, commercial activity, and shared public spaces, strengthening healthcare, expanding opportunity, building national capacity, so that care is closer, so that families feel more secure, so that no one has to look beyond our shores for the care they need. This is how a country stands for its people. This is how a future is built. Project Polaris.
Project Polaris. Andrea, we understand that 84 acres was acquired by the government of Grenada for Project Polaris. 10 of those acres will be dedicated towards the hospital. So there are 74 acres available. What is your immediate ask from our citizens of the diaspora to join the government in this building out of this medical ecosystem that will be based in St. George, St. David?
Thank you. So that is correct. We have a lot of opportunity within the 84 acres that the government has already acquired. The priority project for the government is to build the new general hospital. The new general hospital will be replacing the existing hospital. So first and foremost, we're going to build an excellent institution that's capable of delivering world-class healthcare. And that's a tall order of its own. So it starts, not today, it started actually a couple years ago as we're on this journey to ensure that we can deliver world-class healthcare for Grenadians in Grenada. That is the cornerstone of the broader vision of what we will then be able to accomplish as we leverage our flagship asset. But it's important that we maintain focus on the flagship asset, which is a hospital capable of delivering excellent healthcare for Grenadians in Grenada. And in particular, there's a large component of that directed, focused on the diaspora, and giving the diaspora the confidence and comfort to come home, and to come home more often, and in fact to plan for your retirement years and beyond home in Grenada with the comfort and confidence that you'll get the health care that you deserve and need, and that you'll be at home in paradise where you want to be. The opportunities for how we build that out are boundless, really. And that what we have now and what was displayed in the video is an early stage vision for the rest of the medical city based on the absolute sure set product of a flagship hospital that we will deliver. So the hospital itself, I'll have to say, we have a lot of work and support that we will need with respect to the hospital. Certainly, following the previous panel, a lot of that has to do with human capital, skills. So we will definitely be looking to train and develop our Grenadians here at home. We will be looking to partner with more persons from the diaspora who can come and help to assist with the various deficiencies that we have with all the elements of what Project Polaris is. So that will include from the construction stage right through into operations. And so we'll be doing our best to package or to create bite-sized opportunities to present to the diaspora, to Grenada, to the world, to ensure that you have the opportunity to participate in this project.
Okay, so I'm hearing anything from construction, investment in assisting, although Minister of Finance says is well on the way in securing affordable financing for that investment, but scholarship opportunities for allied health training and all disciplines as well would be important.
Indeed. So what the Minister of Finance was speaking very confidently about is the undertaking of the government for the construction cost of the hospital. The broader medical city is the area where we're inviting private persons, the diaspora, whether you're at home or abroad, to participate with us to help build out that vision. And so we know we're going to build a general hospital, but even just the research hospital campus goes beyond just the hospital. So it includes academic space where we look to partner with SGU to continue that area of development. It would include medical office buildings that would really give other medical professionals the opportunity to provide your services in a premium environment next to our flagship world-class hospital. So even just within the hospital, research hospital campus, there are several opportunities, even for private investment, to help build out the vision.
Am I hearing a timeshare type of opportunity? And I say from the standpoint that people with different specialties can remain wherever they are in the diaspora, come home for some time, give service, have their colleagues, Grenadians or not, rotate through, which means that Grenadians will have the service on an ongoing basis.
So it sounds like we should talk more about that. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're envisioning, and that we need support to help us develop the best product and opportunity for Grenada, understanding that we will never have the ability to have resident here in Grenada all the specialist services that we need. But certainly we believe that through partnership with the diaspora and through arrangements like what you have mentioned, we will be able to certainly enhance clinical service opportunities, as well as additional service, medical service, private medical service opportunities. Therein lies our opportunity to also enhance tourism by creating that product.
Okay. Randall, if I'm to move over to you, land is a premium. And since I was a little boy, Grenada was 133 square miles. I have grown up and Grenada has not changed. It still has 133 square miles. So as we look at Project 500, Prime Minister said that, we're no longer restricted by the tallest coconut trees. I believe we just cut them all down, so we're no longer restricted. But share a little bit about the vision of Project 500 rehousing and how members of the diaspora can contribute to this in a meaningful and sustainable way.
Well, I think the most important thing about Project 500 is to deliver affordable homes, Grenadian-style homes to our people. Project 500 is ultimately based on 4 key pillars: affordability, sustainability, scalability, and of course capacity. Now, a common theme that we talk about is capacity building, and that's why we need more people coming back from the diaspora with skill sets and knowledge. Project 500 is ultimately trying to achieve its goal by using non-traditional building methods. We're very used to the brick and mortar that we used to build here, but we understand the increasing cost of that. As we go forward and build with that, the prices are only going to go up. In order to bring to fruition some of these other models that we're using and bring the cost down, we're trying to use alternative methods of building that are not traditional to Grenada. So that's like the line gauge steel, ICF, and others that I could continue to name, and introduce that to our contractors here locally, so they could also become more resourced to build with it as well. So you have more optionality in the market. But with capacity building, which is very important, this is where we need more skill sets and resource knowledge coming into the market. Because if you have more capacity to deliver these new technologies and more capacity overall with training and having more skilled workforce, then the capacity then brings up scalability. And with scalability, we're able to deliver these across the board a lot faster, which would then lead to affordability. And with affordability, then you're looking at ensuring that we have the sustainability that comes with it, so that we're not just building, just putting up structures, but we're doing it to be environmentally friendly, as we understand that energy prices are rising. We're working to get those down. But how do you live in your home is also important. How do we become more environmentally friendly? Take care of our natural environment is also important. And more importantly, there's another 5th one, desirability, because you have to want to live in these homes. These are your sanctuaries that you're going to be raising your family in. It's a very emotional transaction where you're going to live, where you're going to be making those memories with your family. And we want to make sure that, the homes that we build are of the quality that we would want to live in. Because if it's not good enough for us, then it's not good enough for anybody to be living in. But Project 500 has demonstrated with the 17 models in Dunfermline that these are homes that anyone would be proud of to live in. With the sort of finishes, the designs, it was really thought through with how people would sort of raise their homes, Canadians would raise their homes in an entire neighborhood with all the modern utilities and proper drainage and a planned community that would be good for them.
Am I hearing an opportunity for members of the diaspora who are in the construction industry to lend of their expertise Florida has more hurricanes per year than anybody else. So for those living in Florida, for example, building of homes in non-traditional ways is something that they're familiar with. Am I hearing an appeal for, Grenadian experts in the diaspora, for example, Florida, to come back and lend of that expertise, that training, and adaptability to shift our culture, as it were, from our traditional building methods to these methods that work in an area that is prone like Florida?
And that's a great point, because not because it's new to Grenada doesn't mean it doesn't work in other places, and it has demonstrated, longevity in other locations, right, that are prone to hurricane, that are even prone to earthquakes. So we have to start being intentional about how we actually design for that and build for the long term. And yes, we need more capacity building, because if you're going to deliver 500 homes, and not just 500 homes, but thousands of homes, because we're looking at meanings of transforming the construction sector. Once more contractors are able to build with these technologies, then again, it gives more optionality for anyone wanting to move back and build a home. And therefore, we need more investment in skilled labor. We need more investment in the technologies, bringing them here, because we understand that we cannot be reliant on the market outside for importing everything. There's a lot of disruptions, geopolitical disruptions, wars, etc., that could disrupt the prices of goods and services. So right now, the home, we might be delivering it on the market at $317 a square foot, for instance. But next week, due to another situation that is thrown up, or another tariff, or all of a sudden that price has jumped another 20%. And we want to, as we talk about bringing the means of production into Grenada, we want to be able to control that process at least. So we're bringing the technology here, and this is why we need more of that resources, those investments, because these are investments in the longer term. We're talking about housing now. But again, if we're able to transform the sector, we could build anything. So commercial buildings, hospitals, hotels, all of that. Let's imagine a destination where we're building it faster, more sustainably, and delivering it where, you could have use of those products a lot faster than traditionally if you did it right now.
I'm assuming that we may move away from the model of someone close to the retirement age going up to the north of the island, building a huge house for all of their children and their children's children, and not surviving probably to see the end of the construction, to something that is more adaptable, probably smaller in nature. So for members of the diaspora, can they take advantage of the models, technologies for their own buildings on private lands, etc., to drive the housing construction and their own needs?
The answer is yes, but this is why we started with the pilot now. But the pilot today is designed for our people who need homes today and who have been currently priced out of the market right now, raising families, sending their kids to school, supporting the local economy, but are currently priced out of the market. But once we're able to start deliver that for them, and again, enjoy the benefits of scale and technology and all of the resources that we're bringing to the sector, the prices are coming down, which, like mentioned, then everybody gets to enjoy the benefit of that. There are also a lot of individuals in the diaspora who were gifted land, and they probably have no intention of coming back and building on it, or can't even manage that. We're looking for land all over the country where we could actually start putting some more of these communities. So that is also an option where they can do a PPP arrangement with the government as well, or we could discuss what a potential sale looks like. But so just saying that there's so many opportunities, there's really endless of where we can really take it, but for us to take it there, it means that it has to be a collective effort.
Understood. Thank you. Valerie, I want to keep on the people's side before I move away from that. Prime Minister highlighted the fact that we import labor. I remember him bemoaning a couple of years ago as to how many work permits are generally issued. You are project lead on Project Skills. Share a little bit about Project Skills, what the vision is, and how members of the diaspora can contribute. Your mic?
Thank you, Colin, for the question. So the vision for Project Skills is to establish 4 centers of excellence in 4 priority sectors of the economy. The first is in agriculture. The second is in furniture making, fabrication, and eventually construction. The third is in hospitality and tourism. And the fourth is in marine and maritime, and that includes fishing. The plan that we are working on now is to set up the first center at the Mirabeau Farm School on the TAMCC campus in Mirabeau for children in St. Andrews initially. And we are targeting 3 different age cohorts, 14 to 16-year-olds who are in school, who will go to the center in Mirabeau 1 day per week, because the intention here is to start mainstreaming technical and vocational education as an option in school. As you know, skills and TVET have long carried a stigma. It's like the stepchild or whatever, the afterthought, or for the ones who didn't succeed academically. So we have to shift that, right? So the first cohort of 14 to 16-year-olds will go to that center 1 day per week with support in the school. The second age cohort is 16 to 18-year-olds who are largely out of school. And we are targeting about 30 of those for the same agriculture center. And hopefully a little later, we're going to stagger it for 18 plus, that 18 plus age cohort. It's now called the Youth Transformational Skills Project, but we're already having questions from the public, from the little PR that we have done, asking why is it only for youths? Because for the 18 plus, they can upskill, reskill. You have people who are in jobs right now that want to improve their income, their capacity, etc. So in a nutshell, that's what it is, and we're hoping to start the first center in September this year. The others will stagger over time.
What would be your appeal to members of the diaspora to support Project Skills?
Expertise. For example, in the marine and maritime area, we have very little expertise on island. So anybody who can contribute to developing a curriculum, helping us understand the demand, what it takes to deal with this issue, that would be useful. Financing is also a key area, because you know training and education are not cheap. So very soon there's going to be some mechanism for people to donate to the centers of excellence in order to be able to help them advance.
Okay. Is there any thought on a return on investment, or would this be one more of a grant situation in order to support financially this effort?
At the moment, no. In terms of investment in it, I'm not sure. Eventually, we'd have to probably look at that. But we'll be able to measure the return on investment, because we are going to be doing a lot of monitoring and evaluation. Because one of the issues we're finding is current programs are not doing a lot of evaluation. So there's a lot of investment, and there's no measurement of whether or not there is a return on investment. And it may be in human resource development. It may not be measured by profits, but there is a way to calculate that, and that is integrated into the planning.
Okay. Thank you very much, Val. Naz, if you can, just share the work that the working group has been doing thus far, and your appeal to the expertise in the diaspora for partnership to be able to deliver on the exploitation of our hydrocarbon assets.
Yes, thank you very much, Colin. Please allow me to start by pointing out that Grenada's hydrocarbon ambition it stems from an opportunity. The realization that Grenada is situated in what we call a hydrocarbon-rich province. with its neighbors to the south and the west, being Guyana, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and Suriname, all of which are well-established oil-producing nations, producing commercially significant quantities of hydrocarbon. And Grenada is positioned within that same continental shelf. We have, even though you mentioned the land problem in Grenada, Grenada is 342 square kilometers. It's a small island, only 342 square kilometers, but 28,600 square kilometers of water. So it's a small island nation, but a large marine nation. And the potential that we're talking about here resides in the sea. Minister Andrew spoke about the minerals, but there's also hydrocarbon potential. And this particular opportunity is combined with a need. Grenada, as you know, depends very heavily on tourism, agriculture, education services to some extent. Those are the three things we largely depend on. But every year we have hurricanes, natural disasters. They come and they destroy the country. And then we have to start afresh. Sometimes we have activities and events happening abroad which we have no control over. And when they happen, they affect the American economy, they affect the European economies, and then we in turn get affected. A recent example of that is the war that just took place between Iran, Israel, and the United States. Yeah? Energy prices went up, and then of course we paid a price down here. Yeah? So Grenada cannot continue to, it has one of the most expensive sources of electricity generation in the world. Yeah? And so we cannot continue to just depend on tourism and agriculture, knowing that they can suffer when something goes wrong. We have a natural, we have a God-given, I should say, natural resource, apart from our people, that we should explore to see whether it's there. Don't depend merely on CBI, don't depend merely on offshore banking, but use the potential that is there to see what's there and to get something out of it. To the extent that it exists, let's do something about it. The Prime Minister, in his wisdom, decided to establish a technical working group, a body that is charged with the responsibility to make a comprehensive assessment of whether Grenada does have commercially significant deposits of hydrocarbon, and if we do, to devise and develop a strategy and action plan for monetizing it for the benefit of the nation. That's essentially what the technical working group is doing. Yeah.
And your appeal to the members of the diaspora for partnership
well,
at this stage?
The thing is, in order to do that, we don't have the talent here in Grenada. Let's start with that. We on the technical working group are not experts. The first step we had to take was retain some experts. Geologists, geophysicists, petroleum economists, reservoir engineers, lawyers, all the people that you need in order to do this. It's highly complex and complicated work requiring a high level of expertise, which we don't have. So we had to pull a team together to get the job done. And what we have discovered is that there are a number of Grenadians trained in the field, living in the United States and elsewhere, whom we can tap into to get the job done. As you know, Houston, Texas, the state of Texas is perhaps you might say the hydrocarbon capital of the world. That's where most of the oil companies are based on what they're doing. A lot of Grenadians are working in the industry there. A lot of young Grenadians are studying at the schools there and are also doing their internships in some of the large companies based there. So in order to move this forward, we have been tapping into Grenadians that we know have the skill and expertise. Apart from the technical working group itself, we've put together a volunteer group of subject matter experts that include Grenadians, and together they provide a lot of very useful advice and so on. We've identified 6 young people already who are studying in Texas and in the United States generally, who are doing some of the specialities I mentioned, and who have already indicated a willingness to come home and to support the work that we're doing. We've actually formally interviewed 4 of them, and I've already identified 2 that we will bring on board as part of the team, as employees, to actually get the job done. So from where we are, the diaspora has a critical role to play, not only in providing talent, providing expertise, but also in assisting Grenada in serving as mentors for some of the young people that we bring on board, as well as to promote Grenada as a suitable, stable investment environment and climate, so that they can attract international operators and investors. And in that sense, we're saying that the diaspora, the people in the Grenadians in the diaspora, have a very critical role to play.
Thank you very much. This one goes for any of you. Is there a registry, or will there be a registry of skills that we require to deliver on Vision 75 in your various industries that the members of the diaspora can get access to? Or projects that are needed to partner, or we can partner with in order to deliver?
The skills project, the YSTP, we will soon be doing the public launch, and we'll have an online, it's not going to be the national registry per se, an online registry for people to register and offer their support, whether it's their expertise, for teaching, or whatever role could be played. So that is going to come soon. But Colin, I wanted to add 2 quick things and to endorse something that Naz just mentioned that is much overlooked. And I think that people in the diaspora can contribute to significantly. And that is, there is a big need for mentoring of our youths in Grenada, and sometimes even their parents. So if you are aware, for example, of people coming from your community, your village, who need support, we're going to be looking to get people to mentor. Because sometimes you have the opportunity available, but the parents and the children don't recognize the opportunity, or sometimes they start, but they need encouragement to continue. So that is going to be an important area that we can get some contributions on. Mentoring can be virtual. It doesn't have to be physical, face-to-face. And the other area is a matter of student support in the other areas as well, because there are a variety of supports that the children would need, whether it be transportation, meals, or whatever. So those are 2 key areas that I think, and as we launch, we do the public launch, people will be able to go online and register. I'm not sure about other projects yet, but definitely for the skills project.
Thank you very much for that, Val. And just, we have a breakout session because we're coming quickly to the end of this 45-minute segment. But there are breakout sessions this afternoon after lunch where you'll be able to engage in these themes and ask your questions and delve down a little bit more. So what I will do is I will start off with you, Naz, in responding to the question, and then certainly make an appeal to members of the audience as to why they should rotate through your breakout room and offer an opportunity for more engagement.
Yes, thank you, Colin. I just thought I couldn't help but sort of join the call that you're making. You asked the question, but we must make it a call, which is that if we are going to realize our Sustainable Development Plan, and we're going to realize Vision 75, one of the most critical steps that we must take is establish that registry that you're asking about. There is so much talent in the diaspora, doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, you name it, construction experts, construction managers, all kinds of skill sets. And we have spoken about this opportunity for years to put together a database of all the Grenadians we know, not just in the United States, but in the United Kingdom and in Europe generally, who have skills using the ILO, the International Labour Organization category of skills, put together a skills database of all Grenadians we know existing in different parts of the world. And given the commitment, the desire for Grenadians to help, I think this is a critical step that can be taken and should be taken. So I just want to join, you ask it as a question, but let's turn it into a call. That's something that we can do and should do in order to realize our full potential.
Thank you very much. Randall, your closing statement and appeal for partnership.
Well, again, we are proud of what we have accomplished already with the models. You know, some of them we're going to definitely move forward with, and what was important about it was that it was based on getting the feedback from our people. We were designing and building homes for our people, so having their feedback on it was critical because we didn't want to go fast, build things that nobody wanted. So we do have an opportunity that now if you're here, you can actually go see what we've created. And of course, but you do have that level of expertise. You do want to invest, be it with technology, be it with land or any sort of skill. We need that because if you're going to start delivering these homes and transforming the sector, one company can do it, 5 companies can do it. We need a lot of the resources on the ground to deliver that. And also, if you do have skills in other sectors, we also need that as well, so we could continue to scale the delivery of this process. Speaking about in the diaspora, our project consultant sits in New York mostly, and I call him for updates every day because he's getting updates from the sites. It's almost as he's there because of technology, right? So we are already utilizing skill sets from the diaspora. We need to have more of that so we can continue to deliver even when we scale out to different categories of the project, not just in the communities, but building on individual lands. We need more skills. And especially if you're going to start overlooking the delivery mechanism of that, we need more skills. So more investment, more land, more capacity.
Okay. Thank you very much, Randall. I always let the ladies have the last word.
Thank you. We'll start, we'll finish. So I will echo all of what I've heard. I don't think that we can overstate the importance of us trying to understand better who you all in the diaspora are and what you have to offer. I know some of you may think, well, I've registered before and I put my information there and maybe you haven't been heard. There's a lot going on. We are very deliberately trying to build the systems that help us to harness the power that is in the diaspora. It's not an easy challenge, but it's a worthy challenge for us to take on. So some of you may be aware of the Diaspora Advisory Council. This was one of the early initiatives in this administration that was specifically targeted at how do we harness the power that we have in our diaspora. We have real big ambitions for things that we want to do at home in Grenada, and we know we can't do it alone with who we have just on the island. We also know we have incredible, experienced, successful Grenadians throughout the world, and we need your help. We need your support. So whether it's through the Grenada Diaspora Advisory Council, or even better, when there's an opportunity homecoming, again, we ask you to register. It's because we're trying to find the ways to get the information to feed them to where they need to the places where we can make use of it. Now we've got specific projects with specific focus and roadmap, and each of us will have more specific areas of need. And so please do stay tuned. For Project Polaris, no doubt we have a lot of need in a lot of areas. Our website is a source of continuing information. We keep it updated. We put all of our announcements for opportunities on the website as well as through other mediums. But we have recently built in, and I see our website designer is here, and I think he can confirm, Mr. Noel, yes, we have just recently launched on the Project Polaris website a pre-qualification for contractors database. And we will very soon have a similar database that allows individuals who have contributions to make in the medical space, who are interested in the operating phases, for example, who have other contributions that they think they can make. So it will allow them the opportunity to register their information there in a way that allows us to access it when it's in time for the areas that we need support, assistance. And please don't despair. If you haven't heard from us, try again, because that is our challenge, is to find a way to put your skills and expertise to work.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for that sharing. I would just like to emphasize you are the committed ones, because you have made the trip, you are here. But I'm also hearing that each one tell one. So if you who have made the trip have learned about the opportunities, certainly have the opportunity in the afternoon sessions to engage in the breakout rooms, to spread the word of the opportunities. I'm also hearing a loud call, don't give up on us. So you may have registered 2 years ago, didn't hear anything, but the foundation sometimes takes a long time if you are to build a superstructure that would last. So the foundation is being built. Please continue with the commitment, the engagement, the sharing with each other for the expertise. Valerie Gordon, Nazimberg, Valerie, you'll always get the last word if you saw this.
Because it's occurring to me that each of us here is a live example of Grenadians in the diaspora coming back home and making their contribution. Some can do it from abroad, but each one of us here. So be inspired.
And I think that's an appropriate closing. Valerie Gordon, Nazim Burke, Randall Dolan, and Andrea Semenard, thank you so very much for sharing. You, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this discussion. Lunch is up now, and after lunch, breakout rooms where you'll be having much smaller groups where you can engage and find out how you can individually contribute to this Vision 75 and Grenada's upliftment. Thank you so very much.
And as our panel makes their way off stage, we want to say thank you to Mr. Colin Dow for his moderation this morning. I suppose we have seen, in case we did not know, why the Beyond the Headlines program won the Best Current Affairs and Feature Program at Media Awards 2025. As we bring an end to the morning session, as Mr. Dow mentioned, we are heading into lunch. Lunch will be at the Trade Winds restaurant. Following lunch, we will have panel discussions. Those will run concurrently, so you'll have to choose which one you will be a part of. They will be labeled when you get back here. For those of you joining us online via our various media platforms, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, you can go have yourself a little lunch. And if you are not close to Grenada, keep in touch. But if you are close to Grenada, take a bus, take a car, come down to Radisson, and let's fellowship together. Have a good evening or good afternoon. Enjoy the lunch, and we'll be back later. Thank you so much.